The shocking truth behind Holden's Bend 308 V8 engine. The 308 V8 was a legend, fast, fierce, and untouchable. Then without a word, it disappeared. No press release, no explanation, just banned. Why? What made this engine too dangerous to keep alive? The real reason goes deeper than speed, and it's not what you think. The rise of the 308 V8. By the late 60s, Australian roads were turning into racetracks. Car culture was exploding, and Holden saw an opportunity, not just to compete, but to dominate. They didn't just want faster cars, they wanted a weapon. In secret, Holden engineers began developing something new, the 308 V8. It wasn't just built for performance. It was built to overpower everything else on the road. And it worked. When dropped into the Monaro and Commodore, the 308 turned those models into instant icons. This engine changed the game. It gave Holden the edge in both racing and street credibility. The sound, the torque, the aggressive acceleration. The 308 didn't ask for attention, it demanded it. But that raw power came with risk. As more drivers pushed it to its limits, reports of loss of control and high-speed crashes started to rise. It wasn't always the engine's fault, but the pattern was clear. The 308 gave anyone the power of a race car, whether they were ready for it or not. Holden had created something brilliant, but volatile, and when the headlines started piling up, questions followed. Was the engine too powerful for public roads? Was it built too aggressively for its own good? Eventually, the answer came. Not through an announcement, but through silence. Production ended. No more upgrades. No more headlines. Just gone. But behind that decision was something bigger, a story Holden never told, and that's what we'll uncover next. The secret behind its banning. The 308 V8 wasn't just powerful, it was unpredictable. Drivers loved it, but not everyone could handle it. The 308 wasn't made for easy Sunday cruises. It demanded skill, sharp reflexes, and total control. And the truth? Most drivers just weren't ready. The engine threw down massive torque and blistering acceleration. For seasoned racers, it was everything they wanted. Raw muscle, unfiltered power. But for the average driver, the 308 was a beast barely on a leash. Crashes piled up. Word got out about its twitchy handling and breakneck speed. What started as a dream machine was now making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Inside Holden, the pressure mounted. The red flags weren't whispers anymore. They were screaming alarms. Regulators wanted answers. Insurance companies weren't happy. And the pressure to pull the plug started mounting fast. And behind closed doors, decision makers knew the 308 had pushed too far. The power it offered came at too high a cost into both safety and reputation. So they made the call. Quietly. No headlines, no press releases. Production was halted. The 308th disappeared from the lineup. Not because it failed, but because it worked a little too well. The engine that built legends was suddenly off limits. Not because it wasn't great, but because it didn't play by the rules. And that's what made it so unforgettable. The final straw. The ban wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. At first, the 308 V8 was a marvel, a breakthrough. But the more it hit the streets, the more trouble followed. Crashes weren't rare, they became expected. On tracks, on highways, even in neighborhoods. And it wasn't just speed, it was unpredictability. The 308 didn't respond like other engines. It didn't warn you before snapping. One moment you had control, the next, you didn't. Drivers pushed it pushed back harder, and most lost. Accident reports stacked up. Mechanics flagged handling issues. Emergency services noticed a pattern, one too dangerous to ignore. People started talking. It's cursed. It's alive. But behind the myths was a clear truth. This engine wasn't safe. Holden had built something even they couldn't control. Engineers saw it. Executives knew it. Still, the machine stayed on roads until it didn't. The final decision wasn't about public demand or market shifts. It was fear, the kind that forces action fast. So they pulled it, shut it down. silenced the 308th. But just when it looked like the end of the road, something else surfaced, and it changed everything. The hidden truth. Here's the part nobody talks about. The 308 V8 wasn't banned just for safety. That was the cover story. The real reason, fear. This engine wasn't just fast, it was disruptive. Too fast, too capable, too dangerous to the status quo. Holden had built something that didn't just outpace rivals, it threatened the entire industry. Engineers knew it, executives knew it, and behind closed doors they started to panic. Because the 308 wasn't just a performance upgrade, it was a weapon. And with minor tweaks, it could dominate every racing class, crush any showroom competitor, and break records like glass. It had that much headroom, that much potential. Whispers turned into warnings. Rival brands started asking questions. Regulators leaned in, not because crashes were piling up, but because this engine could end competition altogether. The industry wasn't ready for what the 308 could become. They weren't ready to rewrite the rules, so they buried it. Quietly, no press releases, no final lap. Just gone. And here's the kicker. It wasn't just Holden that backed off. It was pressure from the top, political, economic, maybe even global. Some insiders claim the engine had military-level torque. Others say it was being adapted for prototypes way beyond street racing. Whatever the truth, the 308 scared the right people at the wrong time. So they killed it, not because it failed, but because it worked too well. And legends like that, they don't die, they just disappear until someone dares to bring them back. The fallout. After the ban, the 308 V8 didn't just vanish, it became a ghost, but not in the way most engines disappear. The 308 didn't fade into history. It lingered, haunting the streets, tracks, and minds of those who had tasted its raw power. What was once an engine became a symbol, not of defeat, but of defiance. A symbol of rebellion against a system that couldn't contain it. A story of power, passion, and chaos, and a reminder that the line between genius and destruction is often razor thin. Racers who once relied on the savage roar of the 308 were left chasing ghosts. They swapped in other engines, tweaked their cars, tried every trick in the book, but nothing hit the same. Nothing had that pure, brutal edge. But then came the underground. The diehards, the ones who refused to let the 308 die. The ones who kept its legacy alive. They weren't just remembering the engine, they were resurrecting it. They took the 308's design, pushed it past factory limits, and dared to unleash it in ways that were never intended. For them, the risks didn't matter. Limits were meant to be broken, and they did just that. They pushed the 308 harder, faster, beyond anything Holden ever imagined. Its power wasn't just potential anymore. It was a storm, barely contained, and they were the ones who let it loose. But here's the thing. The more they dialed it up, the harder it hit back. Control became a guessing game. One wrong move, and the car turned from a machine into a missile. The crashes kept coming, not just on tracks, but in alleys, empty highways, and midnight showdowns. Some walked away, others didn't. The 308 became more than an engine. It was an addiction, thrilling, terrifying, impossible to ignore. A taste of a future that never came, yet refused to die. And for those still chasing its roar, one question always lingered. Was the rush worth the wreckage? Was the thrill worth the risk? Was the power worth the price? For some, the answer was clear. For others, they didn't live long enough to find out. The hidden power that almost got lost. You're on the line. Engine growling, coiled and restless, foot heavy, grip tight. It's that breathless moment before chaos. Then, green. You slam it. The beast comes alive. The 308th V8? It's not just an engine. It throws you back in your seat, dares you to blink. This isn't a car, it's a time bomb, ticking louder with every rev. It was a monster waiting to escape, one that didn't belong in the hands of amateurs, one that didn't care about the rules or the system trying to contain it. They didn't ban it over emissions or regulations. That's the surface story. The real reason? It was too much, too powerful, too unpredictable. It was a weapon no one knew how to control. But killing it didn't kill the legend. Even after the shutdown, the 308 didn't fade away. It kept roaring, but now it was underground. Not just in collector garages, but on dark streets, in the shadows of midnight races, and in the hands of those who didn't care about limits, only power. They rebuilt it, tweaked it, made it faster, meaner. It wasn't just a car anymore. It was a game of cat and mouse, with the 308 always a step ahead. There were whispers, stories, about the 308th taking wins, leaving chaos in its wake. Over and over again. And each time the myth grew stronger. But not everyone could handle it. The 308 tested more than just your driving skills. It tested your reflexes, your nerves, your will to survive. Some made it out with stories to tell, but others, they didn't make it out at all. So why chase it? Why risk it? Because this wasn't about speed anymore. It was about proving something. It was about facing the monster that scared everyone else and staying in the seat when it hit full throttle. The 308 wasn't just a car. It was a test of nerves, a test of what it really means to control power. Because when you push that hard, when you ride a beast like the 308, you're always one mistake away from disaster. But here's the thing. There was something more to the 308, something that made it more than just an engine, something deeper, something that turned the 308 from a car into a living legend. The 308 was a symbol of pure, unrestrained potential, a reminder that sometimes greatness doesn't come in a neat, controlled package. Sometimes it comes in the form of chaos. And in that chaos, there's a power few could ever tame. The 308 wasn't just a car. It was the test of what happens when raw potential meets the human desire to control it. And it wasn't done yet. Banned, buried, but never forgotten. So Holden pulled the pin. Officially, the 308 was gone. Off the books, out of the brochures. No more rolling off the factory floor. But here's the thing. You can't kill a legend by banning it. You can't erase a legacy written in rubber, oil, and blood. Because while the paperwork said discontinued, the streets said otherwise. Enthusiasts kept it alive. Through rebuilds, swaps, and secret races, you'd hear it growl late at night in industrial zones. You'd feel it tremble under your feet at car meets. The 308th refused to stay buried. It was still out there, tucked under hoods, hidden behind closed garage doors, passed from father to son, tweaked, rebuilt, feared, and worshipped. And maybe that's why Holden banned it. Not because it was broken, but because it was too good, too fast, too uncontrollable, too raw for a world moving toward safety warnings, emission laws, and controlled engineering. But deep down, we all know the story isn't over. Because here's the question no one dares to ask. If Holden didn't shut it down, how far could the 308 have gone? The 308 wasn't just a car, it was a challenge. A reminder of the untamed, the wild, and the dangerous side of innovation. The kind of power that doesn't fit neatly into the system. The kind of power that dares you to keep pushing. And the real twist? What if someone's still pushing it to find out? The 308 might have been buried by laws and regulations, but the spirit of that engine, that beast, can never be fully contained. Stay tuned, because the road isn't done with the 308, and neither are we.